Events2Metrics enables the optimization of data that's found within logs and spans without needing to hold on to the original log and span. You can just archive it directly, or you can hold on to it for some days and then leave it away, but you can retain the data as a metric, and metrics are very, very efficient. You can see all about Events2Metrics in the Getting to Know Coralogix course. Now, I'll just show you an example here from a Kubernetes perspective. This is an example of a log that came from a Kubernetes cluster. It's integrated via OpenTelemetry. OpenTelemetry automatically would decorate logs with Kubernetes data. You just have to set a field in the Helm chart. Now, you can see here that we have this restart count. This is a perfect candidate for Events2Metrics. So what I'll do, go to data flow here, and I will go to Events2Metrics. New Events2Metric. I'll worry about the name in a moment. We can narrow this down by field. So for example, I can say exists, and then I want that restart count to exist. So there we go. Only apply this to logs where the restart count field is present. That kind of makes sense. I'll call this K8s restart count as an example. And if I go here, there's our restart count. We can set a bunch of different aggregations. By default, we'll get max, min, count, average, and sum. We can also set things like histograms for percentiles if we want. I'll leave it default by now, but definitely have a read into this. And if you want to explore this further, again, check out the Getting to Know Coralogix course. That's got everything you need. Now, the labels are where things get interesting. So if I were you, I would be thinking of things like the deployment name. So if I do resource.attributes.k8s, and then do we have a deployment name in there? Yep, very good. I'll add a new label namespace. So we'll take this again. So it's I'll probably just search for it anyway. Bit easier doing it this way. So if we look for resource, we'll do it this way. Resource.attributes.k8s.namespace.name. Namespace.name. There we go. So you can add as much as you want to that. You can add pod names and things like that. I'll leave it at that for now. Keep it simple. Now, when you define this, of course, it will then generate a preview of your permutations. This will give you an idea of how much data you're going to experience, which is very, very little. So very little to worry about there. And that's kind of it. You can give this Events2Metric a new name. So I'm going to call it K8s restart count. And yes, of course, they need to be. So we'll do this like this. We'll give it a description. So a simple name. I'd recommend giving it a decent name and description. You can narrow this down by application and subsystem. Most of the apps in this account are coming from Kubernetes, so the chances are they're going to have these logs available. So I'll create, so I will, everything looks good here. We're using very, very few metric permutations there, which is nice. We'll create that. And what we'll do now is we'll just skip the video and then I can show you the actual metric that gets generated. But it's just a really nice way of highlighting just how efficient Coralogix can be if you use multiple different features together. This is just an example of the Events2Metrics. So we'll just skip now and then I'll show you the metric generated in a custom dashboard. So now we're on a custom dashboard and you can see here that we've generated our metric. So automatically we can see that we have a logs to metric. We can see the name of the deployment, which is cart service, recommendation service, load generator, and we can see the count of restarts as well as the namespace in which it's running. So that's just a really, really easy, really nice example of how this works. So this is just a quick run through, but this is just a nice way of showcasing how Events2Metrics and Kubernetes work so well together. So this is definitely a must-have if you're looking to get the best possible use out of your logs without having to index the logs. Remember, when you combine this with the TC optimizer, so if I just discard these changes, you can select logs, send them straight to the archive, or you can send them to the monitoring tier, this one in the middle, convert them into metrics, and then send them straight to the archive without ever indexing them. And you're looking at a 68% saving right there just by doing that. So it's very, very powerful for that. So it's just definitely something to keep in mind. So that should be helpful for you guys, and hopefully Events2Metrics will help you to make the best possible use out of your data.